A dark shadow has fallen over the Ivy League. A place of learning turned into a scene of unspeakable sorrow. A rising conservative star, tragically extinguished in the prime of her life. To understand the magnitude of this loss, we must first look at the arena in which it occurred. Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, historically known as a bastion of progressive thought. It was the final weekend of the fall semester, a time typically reserved for academic focus and the anticipation of the holidays. But beneath the surface of this elite institution, ideological tensions have been simmering for years. It is an environment where standing apart from the crowd requires a spine of steel, especially for those who dare to voice conservative values in a space that often demands conformity. Students were gathering in the Barris and Holly Engineering Building, preparing for exams, unaware that their sanctuary of higher learning was about to be shattered by an act of profound hostility. The atmosphere, once charged with intellectual debate, has now been replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. At the center of this heartbreak stands Ella Cook. At just 19 years old, she was more than a student. She was a beacon of leadership and conviction. Hailing from Birmingham, Alabama, she brought Southern grace and unyielding principle to the Northeast. As the vice president of the Brown College Republicans, Ella was not merely a participant in campus discourse, she was a leader on the front lines. In an era where many young conservatives feel pressured to hide their beliefs to avoid retribution, Ella stood tall. She possessed what those who knew her describe as a special courage. She was a young woman who understood that freedom is not inherited, it is fought for every single day in classrooms and lecture halls that are often hostile to the very ideas that built this nation. Her life was a testament to the fact that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The events of Saturday unfold like a nightmare from which the community cannot wake. It was meant to be a routine review session for an introductory economics class, a mundane moment in the life of a university. But that normalcy was violently interrupted. An assailant, masked and determined, entered the premises, unleashing chaos upon defenseless students. We will not glorify the perpetrator's actions with graphic detail, but we must acknowledge the severity of the impact. 9 individuals were wounded, and 2 bright lights were extinguished, including Ella. This was not a random accident. It was a deliberate act of aggression within the walls of academia. The sanctity of the classroom, a place designed for the cultivation of the mind, was violated in the most irreversible way possible. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about the security of our institutions and the vulnerability of our youth. The shockwaves of this tragedy have reached the highest levels of our government. Vice President JD Vance, a man who knows the struggles of the American heartland, stepped forward to honor Ella's memory. In a statement that resonated with millions, he mourned her as a beautiful young girl and one of the movement's bright young stars. His words were not just political formalities, they were a prayer for a family shattered by loss. He highlighted her specific role, leading conservatives on a campus where such leadership carries a heavy burden. By acknowledging her special courage, the vice president elevated Ella from a statistic to a symbol of resilience, a symbol of a generation that refuses to be silenced. His tribute serves as a reminder that every life lost in such a manner tears a fabric in our national tapestry that cannot easily be mended. While the nation grieves, the wheels of justice are turning, albeit slowly and with agonizing uncertainty. A massive manhunt is underway, stretching into its 3rd day. The streets of Providence are filled with law enforcement, yet the individual responsible remains at large. Earlier reports of a person of interest turned out to be a dead end, leaving investigators to retrace their steps. This lack of closure only deepens the wound for the community. The university remains in lockdown, exams canceled, the joyful anticipation of the holidays replaced by fear and suspicion. Every shadow is suspect. Every noise is a potential threat. It is a state of siege that no student should ever have to endure. The failure to immediately apprehend the subject raises serious concerns about public safety protocols and the ability to protect our most vulnerable environments. We must look beyond the immediate horror to the broader context. This tragedy occurs at a time when the political temperature in this country is at a boiling point. Conservative students on elite campuses often report feeling like targets, isolated, ostracized, and now, potentially, in physical danger. While we wait for the facts regarding the assailant's motive, the fear is palpable. Is this the cost of speaking out? Is this the price of dissent? Figures like Senator Katie Britt and Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt have joined the chorus of grief, but the conversation is shifting. It is moving from sorrow to a demand for accountability, not just for the specific act, but for the culture that allows such hostility to fester. We are witnessing a battle for the soul of our universities, and tragically, the casualties are no longer metaphorical. As the investigation continues and the political debates rage on, we must return to the most important element of this story: Ella Cook, a daughter, a friend, a leader. She leaves behind a void that can never be filled. Her life was a promise of what America could be, principled, brave, and unwavering. Today, we do not just report on a crime, we honor a legacy. We demand that justice be swift and that it be absolute. We pray that her family finds some measure of peace in the knowledge that her courage was seen and that it will not be forgotten. The nation watches, the nation waits, and the nation remembers.